I am Jessica Stark. I graduated with a bachelor's in advertising in May 2013. I found out about the position that I have right now from a professor at Texas Tech. She was an adjunct professor who was working at an agency within Lubbock, and she heard that someone from R.D. Thomas was transferring jobs within the agency and they needed a new media buyer. What I do is kind of three parts. I work for the clients. I plan out their budgets for a media buy, and then I actually do the physical buying of the commercials or the radio spots. And then after the campaign is finished, then I reconcile and make sure that everything ran as it was supposed to. For the interview process, I prepared by just figuring out what their agency was kind of like who their clients were, so I could know what kind of questions they would be asking me. Prepared myself by mentally thinking of situations that I've gone through as a student. And whenever I was actually in the interview, they had about a list of like 3 pages worth of questions, and they just ran through them and asked me like the characteristics about myself, kind of like the strengths quest stuff. And they asked me about like if I had a situation where I had to be a leader in a situation, and I had to give some examples of that, or an example of when I had to make a hard decision, and just give examples from that. And I was able to give some really good examples from my school experience. I think that the one point of my college career that made me realize that I'm ready to graduate, I'm ready to have a real-time job, was being on ad team, was working for a real client and doing real life experience things where I could take like this knowledge that I learned and use it in the real world. During my 2 years of ad team, I was a leader both years. The first year I was a media director, and then the second year I was an account executive. So that meant I was the leader over everyone. And that really helped me figure out how to be a leader, because I was in charge of 18 other people that were in 4 different teams, and I had to control what they were doing, make sure everyone was getting their deadlines done on time, and just make sure that I was challenging them without making sure they had too much. The biggest advice I can give to students is to be involved while you're in school. Get to know your professors, because they can, obviously I'm proof that if you know your professors, they'll recommend you for jobs because they actually know people out in the industry. And if you're involved in your in your major, like in advertising, if you're in Tech Advertising Federation or if you're on ad team, then you gain some real world experience that you can transfer over into your interviews and give examples of situations you've been in that will help you out in those interviews.